Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're going back in history. We're going to be gathering characters like George Washington, Alexander Graham Bell, Joan of Arc, Genghis Khan, Ludwig Beethoven. We're also going to be going to different locations like the pyramids. We'll also be gathering weapons to defeat some of those characters, and we'll be gathering some historic relics. Today we're looking at a deck building game that's on Kickstarter right now. It's called Ages, the deck building game, where Ages stands for art, good, evil, and science. And so let's take a look. I'm going to show you how it's played, and then I'll see you on the other side. Ages is a deck building game where you will be spending money to recruit different cards. So some of the characters you'll be recruiting in the game. For art, we have Claude Monet. For good, we have Cleopatra. For bad, Attila the Hun. For science, Alexander Graham Bell. And then sometimes they'll have little bits and pieces of different art or good or evil, like Napoleon or Galileo or John Wilkes Booth or Confucius. There's many more characters in the game. You'll be recruiting weapons to defeat other players' characters, like the nunchucks or the dragon gun. You'll also be spending that money to gain locations like the Great Pyramid, Stonehenge, and the Federal Reserve. And you'll be reenacting some events like the Crusades, quantum mechanics, and the American Revolution. You'll also be gaining relics like the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Nobel Prize, and the mask at the funeral of King Tut. And the best for last, you'll also be getting elite characters like George Washington, Ludwig van Beethoven, Isaac Newton, Genghis Khan, and more. Now there are certain reward levels that allow you to come with one of two mats. This one helps you set up and play the game, and I'm going to be using this mat during this explanation, but it doesn't come with the lowest level rewards. At the beginning of the game, everybody's going to get 8 gold cards and 2 jesters. And over the course of the game, what you're trying to do is get as many cards with higher values as possible, because these are essentially points at the end of the game. Now the mat's populated and ready to start playing. The top row are those elite characters. To the top left is basically the deck that will be filling these up later. Here are the 4 icon cards of art, good, evil, and science, ages, that you'll be using to enact actions on cards later. Here's a stack of 2 coins. And then down here are what's called the main cards that you'll be buying, and the deck for those. Let's talk about how a turn works. At the beginning of the game, we showed you we had gold cards and jester cards. You're going to shuffle those up and draw 5 cards into your hand. These are kept secret from other players, and this is my draw deck. The first phase of a player's turn is the icon phase. They essentially select any one of these icon cards and just grab it and put it into their icon section just in front of them. These will pile up turn after turn, and you just kind of put the like ones next to each other so you can see how many icons of each type you have. Then we'll go to the elite phase, which is activating text on these elite characters. Let's take a closer look. Now these are all starting elite characters to start the game. They have blue text, and those can be activated at any time during your turn, and you don't have to sort of meet any requirements. Normally when you activate a text, you'll have to meet a requirement here, which is meaning I would need 4 of those good icons. I just took 1. You'd need 4 of those normally to activate this. With the elite here, with the blue text, you can activate any or all of these at any time during your turn. But as these guys get taken and moved up and more new guys come out, many of these will have red text. And during this elite phase, you must activate every red text on every card in the elite phase. So here, this one says, elite phase, draw a card. So you'd have to do that. This one says elite phase, discard a card. Some of them will do things with a little bit more movement into them, like destroy a gold card in your hand or discard pile, then draw a card. And some of these things are good and some of them are bad, but you have to activate all red text during this elite phase of any elite character out on the board. The next phase is the main phase, and that's where you'll be playing the 5 cards that you drew that turn. Now, this card is not a starter card, but I added it here for an example. I have these 2 jester cards, which are starter cards, and they allow you these to be any icon you want this round. So essentially, I have 1 good, and I have this relic that I have. It's the Nobel Prize, and it needs 1 art, 1 good, and 1 science. Well, I have 1 good. This could be 1 art, this could be 1 science. I could play this card just like this, and now because I have what's required, I can activate the text here, and this says all non-gold cards cost you 1 less this turn. Well, I've got 2 gold here that I'm going to place, and this tells me how much those are worth. So I have 2 gold there. I have 3 gold here, and these are just essentially 0 gold. So I have 3, but I can buy one up to 4 if it's a non-gold because I played that and activated it. Now I could buy this character, Thomas Jefferson, because he costs 4, and I can do that. So I would take Thomas Jefferson and put him directly in my discard pile, and then this would fill up with a new card from the deck. So I would just put this over here in a discard pile for later use. And during this main phase, you can buy as many 2 gold coins and as many main cards and 1 elite card. So the most you can buy is as many of these, and always just 1 elite. You can buy as many of all those other ones as you like. And where you've been putting these cards is essentially called the gold stack. When you're done, essentially you're going to take all these, put them in your discard pile, and you're going to draw back up to 5 cards for your next turn. And of course, you don't have to play all the cards that are in your hand. You could have kept some of these back for next turn, and you always draw up so that you have 5. It would be the next player's turn, but let's say we come back to ours. I want to show you some of the other cards that are in the game here. So location cards. Now again, assuming you have 1 art, 1 good, and 1 science, you can displace the top card of the main deck, and you may copy the text of that card. And so we would take the top card from here, we displace it, which says immediate. Each player adds 1 card of their deck to their gold stack. Now these, once they're displaced, they actually go face down here, but I would have been able to copy that effect. Now remember, because I could activate this because I have the right amount of icons, this can be done every turn. So every turn, as long as I have this down in front of me in my location area, I can do this. But at some point, I may want to use this as part of my gold stack as gold, and at that point it goes away at the end of my turn, goes to the discard pile, and I won't be able to activate it again until it comes back into my deck. So locations can be used each turn for actions, or they can be used for gold. And sometimes you'll be playing weapons, like in this case, the nunchucks. Of course, you would need 2 art and 2 good to be able to play this. And the green is that immediate action is I could, in this case, place a non-character card from my discard pile to the top of my deck. So maybe in my discard pile I had a relic, like this Medal of Honor. I could take it on my discard pile, put it on the top of my draw deck, and I could draw it on, in the subsequent turn. Also, what you could do here is you may defeat a character that's just played. So I could hold this in my hand. It could be somebody else's turn. They could try to play a character down, like John Wilkes Booth. And when they do that, I could immediately play this, again, making sure I have what I need. And it would defeat this character, which means this player would get put to that player's gold stack with no effect. Nothing would happen. It would gold in his gold stack. He could use it for gold, but he can't use it for the effect. And of course, you could be playing events where if I had 2 good here, I could exchange a card in my hand with the card in the main zone of equal or lower cost. So this would allow me to swap it with one of these cards that's already out there. Take a look at some of the elite characters. You'll notice these are foils. Some of the reward levels allows you to get the foiled versions of these cards, which look beautiful. Now remember, these are going to be worth this at the end of the game, but you need a ton of this to activate. If these were mine, I had bought them on previous turns, you no longer use them in the elite phase because they're in front of you. But if I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 art, I could activate this, which is add the top 3 cards of my deck to my gold stack. Or if I had a ton of evil with Genghis Khan, I could obtain the top card of the main deck. You may defeat any number of opposing locations. Of course, locations are those blue cards like that stay out. So here's just a flavor of what this looks like. And this will continue in clockwise order until either the elite deck runs out or the main deck runs out. At that point, everyone make sure they have the equal amount of turns. We essentially would then take all of the cards that we have and add up this top left value, and whoever has the most is the winner. If there's a tie, the player who is last in turn order would win. Well, there you have it. There is Ages, the deck building game. I hope this gave you a feel for how the game plays, the mechanics, the art. Look at some of the extras like the foiled cards and that playmat that really makes it a lot nicer. So if this is interesting to you, there is a link in the description of this YouTube video just below that you can click, and that will bring you right to the Kickstarter page, and I'm sure they'd love your support.